tomorrow.
Okay, the date should be available. I don't think there should be an issue for home edition, but still,
Okay.
I don't know how it works because I usually suggest my students to go for the test center. So most of
Okay.
my students
Okay.
have given it at the test center, so I don't know how the home edition works. Okay, you will need to check
Okay. No
that a
problem.
bit. Okay, let's check your answers first quickly, and then we'll go to the listening question types. Okay.
Okay.
Which reading passage did you do right now?
The first one from the practice set,
First one. Okay.
from the reading section, first practice set.
1 second. Okay. Let me open the answers. That is impact of railroad transportation in the
Yes.
United
Yes.
States. Railroad
Yes.
transportation in the United States.
Yes.
Okay. Tell me the answer for question number one.
Question number one, right?
Yes.
C.
How?
Uh,
What is the word given?
Immense.
Immense. What does immense
Yeah.
mean according to you? Whatever you understand. What's your guess?
Uh, so from here, what I first thought, like immense means enormous.
Hmm.
But here they have written that, and before that, before the pehle wala sentence, they have mentioned entire regions that would hardly have been touched, especially in the West, were open up to the settlements of exploitation. In geographic sense, the impact of the steamboat and railroad was simply immense. So, and after that, they have mentioned some historians have argued further that they were the key. So I thought argued means hard to like, because of that I said hard to
No,
believe.
no, don't do that. Okay, your first
Sorry, hard.
instinct was correct. Go with your gut instinct also. Don't try to guess, second guess your answers. Okay. So over here,
So enormous
immense,
is right. Hmm.
enormous is the meaning of immense. Okay, that's your correct answer. D.
So that was like easy to uh, like get the answer. So I thought maybe if there's a
No,
trick or something.
here your test is easy. I told you. Remember yesterday I
Yeah,
told you the vocabulary
yeah.
words that you will get. They are supposed to be easy. So don't try to change it. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Next.
Uh, Next is B.
B. Okay, that's
Yes.
correct. Sentence simplification question. B is correct.
Okay.
Okay. Any issue in this question type?
No.
Okay. Next.
Uh, Third is also B.
B. Correct. Brave.
But here also
Hmm.
I was confused between brave and patient because here they have written that
Hmm.
people took time to like they took 2 weeks to reach there. So
Okay.
there's nothing being brave. So I thought it would be patient, but then I was like, no, it's brave because courageous means brave.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay.
So
Yeah.
it just mean talks about the word mostly and not about what the sentence is, right?
Yes, it talks about what the sentence is also if you face the issue, but don't go with the way you are going. Like the जो तू तर्क काढतोस ना त्या तर्कामध्ये नको जाऊस. ठीक आहे की
Okay.
पहिल्याचं सेंटेन्स काय नंतरचं सेंटेन्स काय हे सगळं नको बघू. त्या कॉन्टेक्स्टमध्ये काय यूज केलं गेलेलं आहे अँड द वे इट हॅज बीन इट इट गोज विथ दी नेक्स्ट वर्ड. ओके ट्राय टू गो विथ दॅट मॅक्स इफ यू वॉन्ट.
पण इथं त्याच सेंटेन्सच्या कॉन्टेक्स्ट मध्ये हे मोस्टली त्यांनी सांगितलंय की इट टुक देम 2 weeks to reach Florida.
सो दे आर
So
करेजियस ना दे टूक दॅट.
हा,
हां दे
ओके.
टूक दॅट लीप राईट ऑफ
हा.
टेकिंग दॅट पेशंट व्हायची गरज नाही आहे ना.
हम्म.
You need courage also. It doesn't need only patience when you
Yeah.
have to go, when you have to do something for a longer time, if I be frank with you. So that's the thing. Okay. Hmm. Next question number 4 from the same paragraph.
Uh, A.
It's B. It's a factual information question.
Okay.
Railroads connected communities in a countrywide economic system. That should be your
Okay.
response over here.
Okay.
See where you went wrong. आणि मार्क करत जा किती राईट आणि किती रॉंग आहेत द वे वी आर.
Oh,
हां.
yes, I am doing that. Okay, there is no information about the answer I have to.
Exactly.
You said the answer is C, right? Or sorry,
B.
B, B.
Correct. It is not given in one single sentence,
Ha.
it's given in
Hmm.
various sentences, and that's where we have to guess the answer.
Okay.
Okay,
Yes, got
next. 5.
5 is D.
Look properly. It's a negative factual information question, something that is not mentioned in the passage, or to be particular paragraph over here.
C.
Sorry, please repeat.
C.
C. Many people began
Yes.
to worry about changes
Worry
in the
about
natural
changes in the
world.
natural world.
That's correct. Why did you go with the other option then? First,
I
for
didn't
negative
even
factual
see that.
information, na,
Yeah.
just try to eliminate. Okay, just go with the elimination method. Now,
Okay.
as we have less time, I'm giving you the step that just go with the elimination method. Just really try to
Okay.
eliminate which is mentioned in the passage. Something that is mentioned in the passage, just eliminate. क्योंकि हे दिलेलं आहे मग हा नाही आन्सर येणार, हे दिलेलं आहे मग हा नाही आन्सर येणार. Try
Okay.
to do that. Okay.
Hmm.
So
ठीक है.
whichever is true over here, you will try to mark it negative, or like you will try to eliminate that.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, and whatever is false, which is not mentioned, that will be your answer over here. Clear?
Okay.
Next is again a factual information question.
C.
Sorry.
C. C.
C. That's correct.
Yes.
New towns were created in places where fresh crews boarded trains and locomotives were readied for activity. Okay. Next 7.
D.
D for dog, right?
Yes. Yes.
Correct. It's an inference question. You have to guess the meaning of something that is not given in the passage
Yes.
directly. Okay, you have to try to gauge the meaning, you have to infer it. Next, number 8.
Uh, it is B.
Check properly. The correct answer is C. over here,
Okay.
to identify
Okay.
a specific way that some producers changed in response to the effect of railroads on the distribution of goods. That will be your answer over here. Okay. Next,
Okay.
question number 9. Don't forget to cross check your answers once
Yes.
again, okay? For all. I'm talking about all of the
Yes.
questions, yeah.
Yes. Yes. Mine is B.
Are you sure?
Yes.
The correct answer would be C over here.
C.
Hmm.
Okay.
The sentence which is given: on June 4th, 1876, a train arrived in San Francisco, California, only 83 hours and 39 minutes after leaving New York City.
Okay.
Hmm. Okay, the timeline mentioned should highlight that okay, it will be after B somewhere, but it won't be at B, it will be at C.
Okay.
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 Hmm. Then the last one, where you have to select
Last
three
one
correct
would be
options. Yeah.
yeah. A, C, and E.
A, C, and E. Very good. That's
Yeah.
correct. Okay. Now tell me
Yes.
how many correct. Last वाला छोड़ के out of 9 बताओ.
Uh, Four correct, five wrong.
4 correct. That means 4
Yeah.
points over there, then 2 points, 6 points out of 11. We still need to work a lot, okay?
Yes.
5 wrong जो आ रहा है, we need to work on them.
Yes.
ठीक है? Okay. Try to do 2 reading passages again for homework, okay? From out of this.
Yeah. Yes.
Out of these over here. And again, time yourself. What about the time? Are you able to manage the time?
Yes, I am able to.
You are able to manage the time, right? Okay. So that's not a concern for us. Okay, great, great.
It
Okay.
took
Hmm.
time for me to read the passage at the start.
Hmm.
Later, when it was about the questions, it didn't take time.
Correct. So the first reading should be a quick reading, just to know what is where in the passage. Okay, so don't spend a lot of time over there.
Yeah, I did as you said. Like I read the first paragraph
Hmm.
and the conclusion, and uh, the middle parts I just read the first and the last sentence.
Very good. Okay, so that tells you mainly about what the passage is, and look for any main keywords in the between. Okay, in between.
Okay.
That will also help you, but उसमें भी अगर time कम पड़ रहा है तो you can skip keywords because you will come across them in the questions. Correct.
Okay.
Clear? Okay. Turn on your camera quickly. Now,
Yes.
as discussed, we'll go through listening and we'll try to go through speaking and writing also quickly. Uh, and we'll try to end by
Okay.
2:30, max by 3. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So next we have question types in listening. Are you okay? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Next we will be looking at question types in listening. Now we know that in listening we get around 5 tasks, right? And there will be 3 lectures and 2 conversations. Okay. Now when we talk about lectures, there will be 6 questions for each lecture. Okay, and when we
Okay.
talk about conversations, there will be 5 questions per conversation. Okay, you have 36 minutes to complete this task, but sometimes it may extend to 41 minutes also, because remember I told you yesterday that your audios might be little longer. Okay, so
Okay.
that timing is not counted in solving your questions. You get 16 minutes purely to solve your questions. Okay,
Okay.
10
Okay.
minutes for lectures and 6 minutes for your conversations. Okay, and the sections might be like any section could come first. Okay, sometimes you might get lectures first, sometimes you might get conversations first. It totally depends. Okay, but it is
Okay.
further divided into 2 sections the way I told you yesterday. So that's why they are saying that it may take up to 41 minutes, because sometimes the audios could be longer. Okay, but
Okay.
when we say
Okay.
they could be longer, they are not very long as such, but still. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Now we know that conversations can be of two types over here, the way I told you yesterday. First one could be of office hours, and second could be service encounters. Now, office hours is something which is not common in India, so we need to understand what are office hours. Office hours are basically the timing which professors are available in. Okay, so as a
Mm-hmm.
student you can reach out to your professor during their office hours, which are of course after their lectures and everything. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so you can't just go in the professor's cabin whenever you want. They have particular visiting hours, we can
Okay.
say. Okay, so you can meet them only during that time, that also after taking an appointment. Okay, so
Hmm.
that's what office hours are. So it might be an informal conversation or formal conversation with your professor, where you go and talk about your assignments, your research topic, or any other help that you need.
Okay.
Okay, so those type of conversations might be there. Now again, the way I told you, you have to remember that there will be distractors in these office hours conversations. Okay, now what do I mean
Okay.
by distractors? One ideal example over here would be, say the professor and student is meeting to talk about his assignment. He wants extension in
Mm-hmm.
the deadline of the assignment. But when
Okay.
he walks into the cabin, they might just start talking about another professor who is retiring soon. Okay, so they are planning their his farewell.
Okay.
Okay, so at the start they will start talking about the farewell. Okay, that the professor is going, what all things we should plan, what is the contribution that each students need to give, how to plan it. And
Mm-hmm.
then they will start talking about the assignment, which was the main topic, the reason the student had booked the appointment with the professor, and he will
Okay.
ask for the extension and everything. So over here you might get confused about what was the main reason they are
Reason.
meeting.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah, because the
because we
first question is about what are the
exactly, it's
main.
just purpose, just content question that we get, correct, which we are going to
Yeah.
look at. So you might get confused by why they had actually met, you know. So don't get confused over here.
Okay.
Pay attention. They will say that, okay, you were planning to meet me for, or the main thing, the student might just go ahead and say, the main thing I wanted to discuss with you, sir or professor, that I need extension in the assignment. So that is the main topic. Okay, don't get confused over
Okay.
here with the main topic. But of course, the way I told you yesterday, we will get questions from the other parts also. So when they were talking about the farewell, you might get the question from those points also. What are the students planning to do for the professor's farewell? Example, ऐसे questions नहीं आते, but example. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so you will get questions from that also, but that's not the main purpose of the conversation. That is
Okay.
what we need to make sure that we understand. Okay, second could be service
Okay.
encounters. Service encounters, the way I told you yesterday, that the student might reach out to the staff on the campus itself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, where he might just be facing some problem, he or she might be just facing some problem, and he or she needs help with those services being offered on the university campus. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so of course these are non-academic conversations which are happening. Okay,
Okay.
so that will be your conversations types. Now when we talk about lectures, I already told you again yesterday, lectures may just include a professor who is speaking,
Professor.
or
Mm-hmm.
it may include a student or students, group of students who are interacting with the professor, and they might ask the professor a question. The professor might call out to one or the other student. So those kind of lectures could be
Mm-hmm.
there. Okay, each lecture is approximately 5 minutes long, but sometimes it could be a bit longer also.
Okay.
Okay, now your topics that might come for the lecture, I told you yesterday that it might be from arts background, it might be from life science background, physical science, social science background. Okay, again the
Okay.
questions which will be asked, they will not be very specialized topic lectures, they will be very general topic lectures. Okay,
Okay.
and along with that you will be asked only from the audio, nothing will be asked outside that. So these are
Okay.
some of the topics that you could get, and you should be familiar with what they are. Okay, it should not be something new for you. For example, if I say music history, you should know what it means. Okay, little bit,
Okay.
it's ज़्यादा नहीं ज़रूरत
Mm-hmm.
है, but at least when you come across this term, you should know what it means. For example, if we say cave art and rock art, you should know what it is. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
you should
Yeah.
not get confused. Knitting, You should not be confused. You should know what is mosaics. You should know what is ceramics. Okay, that's what I expect. TOEFL does not expect it from you. I expect that you should
Okay.
know what it means. When I say mosaic art, you should know what is mosaics. Do you know what is mosaics?
Uh, I have heard about it, but
Uh-huh.
now I'm not able to recall what it
Okay, so to put it in very dumb language, I would say if you have seen that art which is made with very small parts of a tile. So usually in India, जो अपना terrace होता है ना,
is.
terrace पे
Mm-hmm.
when they break those tiles and then they make that flooring, right?
Yes.
So वैसे ही these people like artists they make an art out of it. So that's what is called mosaic. The
Okay.
art is made by pieces of tile like item, we could say, okay.
Okay.
And it reflects them. Usually when you go to foreign countries, you will see cathedrals, you will see art in cathedrals, you will see art in churches made out of mosaics, and they look very
So
pretty.
yeah. So basically, a pattern made by
Yes,
small pieces.
pieces. Yep, that is what mosaics would be. Okay. Now
Okay.
I have put it forward in very dumb language over here. There might be specific terms for it.
Yeah.
I am not an artist, so I don't know. Okay. And tribal art for us it would be Varli painting. If you know
Yeah.
Varli painting,
Lovely
that would be
painting. Yeah.
tribal art. Yeah. Then industrial design, industrial art. Then others are very easy over here. Then when we talk about life sciences, you should know. I'm sure you are from engineering background, right? So you might
Yes.
know some of them, not all of them, but some of them. Correct. You
Yes.
should know physiology of sensory organs, what it means basically. When we say food, foraging, defenses, bacteria, and microorganisms. Again, these are very easy. I'm not.
Yes.
I am sure you will not be confused with this. This is where a person like me would be confused, who is not from a science background. Okay, what are
Okay.
glaciers? What is glacial landforms? Electromagnetic radiation. At least you should know these
Yeah,
things.
I know.
Seismology. Okay, these are the
Okay,
terms
I
that
don't know what is seismology.
seismology is basically it comes under the domain of geography, I would say,
Okay.
where we study about earthquakes,
Uh-huh.
tectonic plates, the
Got it.
continental drift, all those theories. Okay, usually as I said you won't get very specific topics, but it will be very general, जैसे हमने
Okay.
अपने geography textbooks में पढ़ा होगा वैसे कुछ होगा. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Next we have social science background. Okay, from social science background you may get about child development, where I talked about psychology yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Then education, early writing systems, all those topics might be there. Very easy, but again you should have a little bit of idea about it, like what it means at
Okay.
least. Okay, then after that, the question types that we get, we know that they are MCQ. Most of the times the questions that you will get will be MCQs.
MCQ. Okay.
Correct, there will be multiple choice questions with more than one correct answer. Sometimes there will be only one correct answer. Okay, you will get four choices, you have to select one. Sometimes you might get four choices and you have to select two, or you might get five choices and you have to select three. So that is when
Okay.
you have to look at the question. Don't
Question.
skip that. Don't just assume that it is asking for one correct answer.
One.
Now what happens
Okay.
is, if they have asked you to select two and you have selected only one, you will not get score over here. It's not
Okay.
like prose
The
summary
whole question
questions.
will be wrong.
Yeah, it is not like prose summary question.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
here if you mark one also over here, only one if I say, you will not get any points. Okay,
Okay.
your both the options should be selected. Along with that, both the options
Both
should
the
be
options should be
correct.
correct. Okay.
Exactly. If one is correct and one is wrong, when they have asked you to select two, it will be wrong. Okay, you don't get any points over there. Clear?
Okay.
That's
Hmm.
just one more negative part that we have over here. So we have to be very careful that we select both of them correctly, or if they have asked you to select three, then we select all of them correctly. Okay,
Okay.
sometimes there might be some text which asks you to match the text to categories in a table or place check marks. Usually this will be for the organization questions, okay, where they will ask you what all steps the professor mentioned. So that's why I said yesterday, if you remember, whenever they are mentioning any kind of steps, any kind of procedure, you will make notes of them in that method. And usually
Okay.
एक question तो आता ही है वैसा in your listening. Okay, so where they might just ask you organization. If the professor has explained some steps, they will put it in steps. If the professor has put forward some kind of classification, what is included, what is not included in some kind of process, then those kind of questions will also be there. They will ask you in the table format what is included and what is not included, so you will have to select that correctly over there. तो ये
Okay.
थोड़ा सा अलग क्वेश्चन टाइप है, दैट्स व्हाई आई एम हाईलाइटिंग एंड टेलिंग यू. ओके, एंड यूजुअली पूरे टेस्ट में एक तो वैसे क्वेश्चन आता ही है. या
Okay.
ओके, या नाउ moving to the question types. Now we have 8 question types over here. The first one and the second one is kind of interconnected. The only differences between what and why, and you get one question type in lecture and you get one question
Okay.
type in conversations usually. Okay, so
Okay.
we'll look at them one by one. So your just content, just purpose, then detail, then function, then attitude, organization, connecting content, and influence are the question types that we get. Now I have already told you that when you start attempting the listening task, you will get to listen to the audio only once.
Once.
Okay,
Yes.
now some questions over here, to be very specific, function and attitude questions, usually they will replay some part of that audio.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yes.
so they will say, why does the professor say this? And they will
Ah, yeah.
play those 10 seconds
The
to 15
sentence. Yeah.
seconds of the audio. Okay, so you should know where the professor has said it to be able to answer this question, and you should be able to understand the pragmatic understanding. ओके,
Okay.
वाई डज द प्रोफेसर से, तो उसने उस टोन में क्यों बोला, ये हमें समझ में आना चाहिए. ओके,
Okay.
ना यहाँ पर आई यूजुअली गिव एग्जांपल्स ऑफ मम्मीज. मम्मी सार्कास्टिक टोन में बोलते हैं ना यूजुअली अपने मम्मीज,
Yes.
तो वी हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड why did the professor say that, with the understanding of the way our mothers talk in sarcastic
Yeah.
tones sometimes. Okay, so it becomes easier for us to understand this
Yeah.
question.
Right.
Now the first question that we have over here is just content question. As I told you, just content question mainly talks about your overall topic or the main idea of the lecture or the conversation. Okay, it will be mentioned in the audio directly. Here we
Okay.
don't have
Yes.
to. Most of the times it will be given directly. Sometimes it might not be given directly. Okay, but the words in the options will be paraphrased. That's what we need
Okay.
to be a bit careful about again. Okay, now
Okay.
your question will look something like this. What problem does the man have? What are the speakers mainly discussing? What is the main topic of the lecture? What is the lecture mainly about? What aspect of X does the professor mainly discuss? These kind of questions will be there. Okay, now
Okay.
just content questions ask you about the overall content of the lecture or the conversation. Now you can eliminate the choices to derive your answer. You can eliminate the choices which refer only to small portions of what you have just heard. Okay, so
Okay.
that should be easier, that should make it easier for you to understand or drive at your answer if you get confused anytime. Okay,
Okay.
and another thing that you can do is when you listen to the whole lecture, if you miss out on your just purpose or just content question, what you can do is
Mm-hmm.
after listening to the whole lecture, just quickly try to note down in your own points of what the whole conversation or the lecture
And
was about. Okay,
okay.
now many times what happens is usually they mention it, but sometimes we might lose out on that information, we might not pay attention to that part. So
Mm-hmm.
don't get stuck
Mm.
on this
Okay.
question. That is also another thing.
Okay.
Many students, what they do is they get stuck till the time they don't get an answer to this question while listening to the audio, and they are not able to focus on
Okay.
anything what is said after that. So if you miss out at the start, usually they'll mention at the start, the way we started, I said we are going to look at question types in listening today, so that tells you that okay,
Mm-hmm.
we are going to look at the question types in listening. But
Listening.
say
Yeah.
sometimes you might just miss out on that start part. Okay,
Yeah. Right.
so because of that, don't get confused. Whenever you listen to the whole lecture, you will still understand that okay, for example, when you see type 1 just content questions, you understand that okay, we are looking at listening question types.
Listening question. Yeah.
Correct? So that should give you an idea. That's what I'm trying to say. Even if you miss out on that part. Okay, and again, when
Okay.
you look at the
Yes.
options, again, you should be able to understand it. Clear? Next, we have just purpose question.
Okay.
Just purpose question, your just content question asks you about what, correct? What problem did the man face, or
Mhm.
what are the speakers mainly discussing about? Here,
Mhm.
the questions would be more of why. Okay, why does the student visit the professor? Why does the student visit the registrar's office? These kind of questions will be there. So this focuses more mainly about the reason behind it. Okay, mainly on the reason behind it.
Okay. Okay.
Understood? Yeah. It's the same. The question type is the same, only the way of asking the question changes, and
It's
the way you
different.
will
Okay.
come to the answer also will be different. Your options would look a little different over here. Okay,
Okay.
so say students visit your professors during office hours for various reasons. They might visit for to invite the student to discuss the performance. Sometimes the professor might ask the student to visit, right, because he is going low on grades. So
Yeah.
that those kind of conversations could also be there. To answer a just purpose conversation, we have to look at the notes we have made, okay, to identify the reason that the student visited the professor in the first place over here.
Mhm.
The purpose of the conversation is not usually the main topic that they are discussing. The way I told you, they might digress. Okay, so
Mm.
example which is given on the screen, a student might visit her professor for the purpose of asking a question about the professor's grading policy. So after answering her question, the professor might just
Okay.
spontaneously ask how the student is progressing on the research project that they are doing. Okay, and the rest
Mhm.
of the conversation might be about the research project. But is that the
Okay.
main topic? No, the main
No.
topic the student visited for is to understand the
Grading
professor's
policy.
grading policy. So
Yeah.
these are the things that we need to focus on. So these are the
Okay.
distractors. We call it
Mhm.
distractors, correct, in IELTS language. So
Yes.
these will be the distractors. So we should not get confused with these distractors. For the service encounter conversations, the student is usually facing some kind of a problem, and that is the reason he or she visits the office, okay, the service
Office.
encounter office.
Mhm. Mhm.
So we have to focus on the problem that the student is facing and how it will be solved.
Okay.
Okay, these are kind of questions that we'll get. Now here we are going to go through the video quickly. Now how this videos will be helpful, we'll get some sample questions over there also with the audio, correct, because in your TOEFL
Yeah.
guide your sample questions are there, but you have the script, you don't have an audio for it. Okay, for the sample
Okay.
questions we have the audios. I have the audios for the mock tests and everything, and
Mhm.
practice questions and listening, but
Mhm.
for the sample questions that they have given, we don't have audios for that. Okay,
Okay.
like they have not, TOEFL guide has not given audios with it. Yeah, just have the script, so this these videos become helpful for us. So let us quickly look at the watch the video and look at the sample questions.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Michael from ETS. Today on Inside the TOEFL Test, we're going inside the TOEFL IBT listening section, specifically the gist content and gist purpose questions. The gist of something is the main point or key idea. In the TOEFL IBT test, gist content questions ask you to identify the main topic or idea of the listening conversation or lecture. Gist purpose questions ask you to identify what the main purpose of the conversation or lecture is. You can recognize gist content and gist purpose questions because they use phrases like mainly about, mainly discussing, why does the student, or what is the main purpose. Here are two things to keep in mind when answering gist content and gist purpose questions. In the listening section, there will always be either a gist content question or a gist purpose question, but never both. This question will always be the first question after listening to the passage. Also, sometimes the lectures and conversations can have two main ideas. In this case, the gist content or gist purpose question may ask you to choose two of the four answer options instead of just one. Let's look at some sample gist content and gist purpose questions. First, we'll listen to part of a conversation between a coach and a student, catching up on what happened while the student
Yeah, before you start listening, make sure you make notes while listening. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
was away.
Hi, Elizabeth.
Hey, Coach. I just thought I'd stop by to see what I missed while I was gone.
Well, we've been working real hard on our plan for the next game. I've asked Susan to go over it with you before practice this afternoon, so you'll know what we're doing.
Okay.
By the way, how did your brother's wedding go?
Oh, it was beautiful. And the whole family was there. I saw aunts and uncles and cousins I hadn't seen in years.
So it was worth the trip.
Oh, definitely. I'm sorry I had to miss practice, though. I feel bad about that.
Family's very important.
Just give me 1 minute, I'll be back. Okay?
Yes,
Try to
yes,
do
yes.
this.
Yep. Okay, I guess I'll see you this afternoon at practice then.
Just a minute. There are a couple of other things I need to tell you.
Oh, okay.
First, everybody's getting a new team jacket.
Wow. How'd that happen?
A woman who played here about 25 years ago came through town a few weeks ago and saw a game and said she wanted to do something for the team. So,
she's buying us new jackets?
yep.
Wow, that's really nice of her.
Yes, it is. It's great that former players still care so much about our school and our basketball program. Anyway, you need to fill out an order form. I'll give it to you now so you can bring it back this afternoon. I've got the forms from the other players, so as soon as I get yours, we can order. Maybe we'll have the jackets by the next game.
Okay.
Great. And the next thing is, Mary's transferring to another college next week. So we'll need someone to take over her role as captain for the second half of the season. And the other players unanimously picked you to take over as captain when Mary leaves.
Wow. I saw everybody this morning and nobody said a word.
They wanted me to tell you. So, do you accept?
Of course.
So, an example of a gist content question for this passage is, what are the
Okay, try to answer it.
Yes.
Now, if you see over here, they talked about everything. Okay, whatever
Yes,
options
yes,
are
yes.
given, they talked about everything. So that's why the options get confusing sometimes.
Okay. The things that happened while the woman was away.
Okay.
speakers mainly discussing? And an example of a gist purpose question is, why does the student go to see the coach?
See, now the same question, only the way of asking the question changed, and even
Okay.
the options look similar, but the wordings change. Okay, to find out what happened while she was
And
away,
while
that
she
is
was
the
away.
option that you select.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Whichever question is asked, you can figure out the answer by focusing on the main point of the conversation or lecture. The female student tells us her reason for going to see the coach in the early part of the conversation when she says this.
I just thought I'd stop by to see what I missed while I was gone.
That tells us both
Understood where the
Yes.
answer was?
Yes.
the main idea of the conversation and why she went to see the coach. So for both questions, the best answer is C. Here's a tip for improving your listening skills. Listen to academic lectures in English as much as possible. Be sure to listen to lectures in various subject areas: science, social science, business, arts, literature. You can search online for universities that post their lectures for free. Start with short lectures on topics you are familiar with, then build up to longer ones on topics that are not familiar to you. Listen to the same lecture multiple times if you need to. There are lots of ways to improve
Okay, understood about this question type?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
your English.
So your answer was correct. Okay. Now moving
Yeah.
to the next question that we have, that is detailed questions. Okay. Now here, if you remember yesterday, I told you that whenever the professor is explaining too much, whenever the professor is giving too many details, whenever he tries to break down the complex ideas which he's trying to mention, understand you will get a question from it. Okay,
Okay.
that
Okay.
should be your cue that okay, you need to take notes in depth over here.
Okay.
Okay, so make sure that you make notes of whatever the professor is mentioning. If he is explaining something in steps, make sure you explain those steps in your notes. Okay, at
Okay.
least put it in 1, 2, 3 format, the way he is explaining. If he is going from the complex idea to simple idea, then make notes of it accordingly.
Okay.
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 Now over here, the details, as it says, they will ask you some details which are explicitly mentioned in the lecture, the conversation. Okay. The detail might be
Okay.
related directly or indirectly to your main topic. It totally depends.
Okay.
Okay. But as I
Okay.
said, whenever they are providing examples, whenever they are providing any kind of elaboration, make sure you make notes of it. Okay.
Okay.
In some cases, when there is a long digression that is not clearly related to the main idea, you may be asked
Mm-hmm.
about those details also. Okay, the way they were talking about the ex student, the way they were talking
Mm-hmm.
about what she did while she was away, how was your brother's
Mm-hmm.
wedding, you might be asked about those things also. Okay, तो वो
Okay. Okay.
irrelevant नहीं है, we have to make notes of those points also.
Okay.
Okay,
Right.
so why was
Yeah,
the
I
student
did note
absent?
down that
Yeah,
also.
they might ask you why was the student absent? Why was the student away? Correct? So
Yeah,
these kind of questions could also be there. Just you were like, this is not a specific question that you will get, but essay questions
but it
ho
could be
sakte
there.
hain. Understood?
Yes.
Okay. Now,
Uh,
according to
just
this,
a second.
yeah,
I'll
sure.
check my medicines. Hello.
Yeah. Are you back? Okay.
Yes.
So, as I was saying, yeah, your question will always look like this. According to the professor, what is one way that X can affect Y? What is X or what resulted from the invention of X? These kind of details would be asked. Okay. Now,
Okay.
when you are trying to attempt this question, you should look at your notes. Okay, because you'll be making
Okay.
notes which are being mentioned. Now, you will not, as I said yesterday, you will not be asked about very minor detail. Okay, they will
Okay.
not ask you when did the Battle of Panipat took place,
Yeah.
take place. They will
Why
ask
did
you
it?
why did it take place. So your
Mm-hmm.
notes should include major details. Okay, if possible, try to note those minor details also, but focus
Okay.
mainly on the major details. Okay,
Uh,
as I said
ab-
before,
mhm.
yeah, tell me.
Right now, when I was solving reading,
Hmm.
I realized I'm not able to recall what the question type is. Like, not all of them, but some. Uh,
That's fine. That's fine. You don't need to remember all the question types, but some of the question types, if you remember or understand them at least, it will be
hmm.
easier for you to understand how to tackle that question. Okay. Now, for
Okay.
example, जो हमारे negative factual information question है, you need to
Hmm.
focus on something that is false.
Yeah.
1 second, sorry. So you need to focus on something that is false.
That I that question I got because it was mentioned not or
Exactly.
except this. But
Exactly.
the factual question I didn't realize until unless you told me that it was a factual
That's
question.
fine. You don't need to remember it as such. I would
Hmm.
say it will be difficult for you to do it in 2 days now. Okay.
Yeah.
If we had lot of time, then I would have told you that okay, look at these words, look at that word. But again, we have less time, so it's fine. I would
Yeah.
say focus on negative factual information question, sentence simplification because they can
Okay.
be understood easily. Then insert
Easily.
close summary. Of course, it always comes at question 9 and question number 10, so it becomes
Yeah.
easier. Okay,
Yeah.
here
Yes.
also, if you look at the listening question type, that is one, it's easy, just content and just purpose
Yeah.
question, you will
Yeah.
understand it directly. But
Yeah.
details, you detail type of question you might not understand it, it's fine. ठीक है.
Okay.
Why does
Okay.
the professor say this, why does the professor mention this, वो थोड़े से easy है again, because you know
हाँ.
that the audio will also be replayed. ठीक है.
Yeah. Right.
So don't get too much into question types, but understand the points that we need to make sure, like tips that I'm
Okay.
giving
Okay.
you. You need
Mm-hmm.
to be careful about those things. Okay. And when we talk about reading, you will need to make sure, like, according to the question type, you will need to make sure that you cross check your answers 2 times or 3 times, because some of the questions are a bit difficult, right? The way we talked about sentence simplification question, or where we talked about inference questions, correct?
Okay.
What is being inferred? So you'll need to make sure 2 3 times over there that the option that you're selecting is correct, because that is where we get confused.
So
Correct.
I'll have to make sure that I solve the passage in like 12 or 13 minutes.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay, that's how you will be able
Okay.
to gauge your answer, and that is where you will come back. If you have time remaining at the end, you will come back and cross check your answers that you have selected are
Okay.
correct.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Mm-hmm.
where you will use that review button that we looked at yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay, that's very important. Now in listening, unfortunately we do not have that review button. You will have to make sure when you're solving the question you solve it properly.
Okay.
Okay, but every question, to be very specific over here, every question you get hardly 30 seconds.
There is not going to be typing anywhere except writing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
You don't have to write anywhere.
Okay.
Okay. So you save time over there as well. Yep. Clear?
Okay.
Yeah. Moving to the next part. As I have mentioned before, don't just select an option because it contains some words which were used in the conversation or the lecture.
Mm-hmm.
Your responses, incorrect responses, will also have those keywords. Okay,
Okay.
so don't just go for the option because you heard that word or you saw that word somewhere. Okay, that is something that you will need to
Okay.
be careful about. Now let us watch a video where we will get one sample question also with the audio. Okay.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Michael from ETS. Today on Inside the TOEFL Test, we're going inside the TOEFL IBT listening section, specifically the detail questions. Detail questions are probably the most straightforward of all the listening question types. They will ask you to remember specific facts about the lecture or conversation. You can recognize detailed questions because they include phrases like according to and what is in the question. Detailed questions will always ask about an important conceptual detail. You will not be expected to memorize trivial details, such as whether something happened in 1977 or 1978. The answer to a detailed question will always be explicitly stated in the listening conversation or lecture. Now let's look at a sample detail question. First, here's an excerpt from a conversation between a coach and a student who are catching up on what happened while the student was away.
Okay, I guess I'll see you this afternoon at practice then.
Just a minute. There are a couple of other things I need to tell you.
Oh, okay.
First, everybody's getting a new team jacket.
Wow, how'd that happen?
A woman who played here about 25 years ago came through town a few weeks ago and saw a game and said she wanted to do something for the team.
So she's buying us new jackets?
Yep.
Wow, that's really nice of her.
An example of a detail question is, who is buying new jackets for the team? Again, a detail question will always be a fact that is directly stated in the listening passage. The coach explicitly tells the woman that a former player is the one who is buying the team new jackets, which makes option C the correct answer.
Did you get the option correct?
Yes, it was very easy. I had noted down the
Exactly.
details.
Very good.
Here's a tip to help you practice recognizing important details in a conversation or lecture. Find a friend or study partner and listen to a short audio clip. When it's finished, each of you write down as much as you can remember. Then compare notes to see who remembered more of the important points and supporting details. There are lots of ways to improve your English skills.
Okay, now of course the tip that he is giving will only be helpful when we have a lot of time with
Lot of
us.
time, yeah.
Correct. If we are planning to give the test immediately, it won't be helpful for
Yeah.
us. Okay. Moving to the next part, here we have pragmatic understanding questions. Now, what do we mean by pragmatic understanding? Something that is being said without being said directly. For example, what do
Indirectly,
yeah,
basically.
if I
Complete.
say pragmatic understanding, when I say pragmatic meaning of something, let us take this example. जैसे हमने कल inference समझ के लिया था ना, वैसे ही हम आज real life situation example लेंगे to understand what is pragmatic
Okay.
understanding or pragmatic meaning of something.
Okay.
Now say you are watching TV on a very
Hmm.
high volume. Okay, I am your
Hmm.
sibling. I come out of my room and say I have my exam tomorrow.
Okay.
What is the pragmatic meaning you will take out of this?
But we should turn down the volume because you have exam and you aren't
Exactly.
able to study. Yeah.
Exactly. Did I say that directly?
No.
No. So that is the pragmatic meaning
Right.
that you took out of
Okay.
it. Something again that you inferred from it. Okay.
Okay.
हाँ. So थोड़ा सा interchangeably use होते हैं inference and pragmatic meaning, to be
Hmm.
very specific. But in
Okay.
listening, we have to get that gist. We have to get that pragmatic meaning without someone saying something. Okay,
Okay.
that's what we mean by pragmatic meaning. And in
Okay.
pragmatic meaning is where we will get the questions which are for function and the attitude of the speaker. Okay, your function questions basically ask you to recognize the purpose behind the speaker statement and how the word stress and intonation help to convey this purpose. Okay, so that is where a portion of the audio will be played again and they will ask you, why does the professor say this? Okay, why does the student say this, and what does the professor imply when he says this? What does the
Okay.
professor mean when she says this? So that's where they are asking you the function of what the professor is saying about or
Okay.
talking about and
Okay.
why he is saying. Okay, remember that function of what is said may not match the speaker's words directly. Okay, the
But
words will be
indirectly
different.
it could.
Yeah, the way I said, I have my exam tomorrow.
Hmm.
Did I anywhere mention that lower the volume of TV?
No, no, no.
No. So that's how your options will be, like that's how your audio will
Question
be.
number.
Audio will be.
Audio. Okay.
ठीक है. For example, which they have given, an administrative assistant asks a student if he knows where the housing office is. So she is not, however, doing this to get information about the housing office, but she is asking to know if the student
No.
knows where he needs to
Maybe.
go.
Hmm.
Correct. So
Yeah.
क्वेश्चन डायरेक्ट नहीं है, थोड़ा सा इनडायरेक्ट है बेसिकली दिस
Indirect.
वर्ड.
Yeah.
नाउ लेट अस वॉच अ वीडियो अगेन विथ एन एग्जांपल क्विकली.
Sure.
Hi, I'm Michael from ETS. Today on Inside the TOEFL Test, we're going inside the TOEFL IBT listening section, specifically the function questions. Function questions ask you to identify the particular meaning of a statement in a given context, because a statement can have different meanings depending on the situation. In other words, the real meaning is different from the surface or literal meaning. For example, if you're in a room with other people and someone says, "It's getting chilly in here," what they might really be saying is, "Could someone close the window?"
सी nowhere they mention
Yeah.
close the window.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Okay, he or she said it's getting chilly in here.
Chili
That
in
means
there.
ठंडी वास्ते basically.
Oh.
You can recognize function questions because they include phrases like, "What does the professor mean when he says?" or "Why does the student say?" Now let's look at a sample question from a conversation between a coach and a student who are catching up on what happened while the student was away. Here's an excerpt from the conversation.
Hi, Elizabeth.
Hey, Coach. I just thought I'd stop by to see what I missed while I was gone.
Well, we've been working real hard on our plan for the next game. I've asked Susan to go over it with you before practice this afternoon, so you'll know what we're doing.
Okay.
By the way, how did your brother's wedding go?
Oh, it was beautiful. And the whole family was there. I saw aunts and uncles and cousins I hadn't seen in years.
so it was worth the trip.
Oh, definitely. I'm sorry I had to miss practice, though. I feel bad about that.
Family's very important.
Yep. Okay, I guess I'll see you this afternoon at practice then.
Here's an example of a function question. What does the man mean when he says families?
Try to answer.
Yeah. Mm. The woman had a good reason for missing practice.
Okay.
Very important. When looking at the answer options, think about the context of the conversation. So when the coach asks about the wedding and says things like, so it was worth the trip, and family's very important, you can conclude that the coach understands and agrees with her decision to miss practice. So D is the correct answer.
Understood?
Yes.
Okay. Great. Moving to the next part. Now this question is also similar to what we just did, but here they are asking about the attitude of the speaker. Okay, so
Okay.
over here you may be asked a question about the speaker's feelings, the likes and dislikes that the speaker has, or the reason for the anxiety or amusement of something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and they might also
Mm-hmm.
ask you about speaker's degree of certainty. Okay, they might also ask you
Okay.
if the speaker
Okay.
is referencing a source or giving a personal information. Are the facts presented generally accepted or are they disputed? Again, these kind of things would be asked,
Mm-hmm.
and they might sometimes ask you to detect the irony also in the
Okay.
main thing that is they are saying in this particular conversation.
Mm-hmm.
For example, that's just great, that's not good at all. These kind of sentences would be used. So why does he or she say this? Again, we need to understand the tone of the speaker. Okay, if he's
Okay.
trying to win the sympathy of the audience, or he's trying to express the disapproval in indirect way, all these kind of things we'll need to understand. तो थोड़ा सा यहाँ पर intonation, speaker का tone, speaker क्यों ये चीज़ बोल रहा है, whether he's using humor, again all these things we'll need to consider over here a
Mm-hmm.
bit. So again, this question is easy if you understand all these things in real life. If you face
Mm-hmm.
difficulty with these things, then you might face a difficulty while solving this question. For example, if you
Okay.
have watched, I don't know if you watch English series, but if you watch Big Bang Theory,
I have. Yeah.
you have, right? So
Yeah.
Sheldon does not understand
Yeah.
the attitude of the speaker.
Yeah.
Correct. So if you are like
Yes.
Sheldon, you might face a difficulty in understanding this question type. Okay, he does not understand irony, he does not
Mm-hmm.
understand sarcasm, and
Yeah.
all the other things. So yeah,
Yeah.
that
Right.
would be an excellent example of this question type. Okay,
Okay.
so that's where we need to have a clear understanding. Your question would look something like this: what can be inferred about the student? What is the professor's attitude toward say particular topic? What is the
Topic. Okay.
professor's opinion about certain topic that we are talking
Hmm.
about? Why does the what does the woman mean when she says this? And they might just replay the audio over
Audio.
here. Okay, so that's how your questions will be. Now, as I said before, you will need to work on the speaker's tone of voice. You will need to understand whether he or she is apologetic, he is confused, enthusiastic, or the speaker's tone over here will help you to
Mhm.
understand any
I
other points.
didn't notice this while I was listening to the audio before knowing about this question.
Exactly. So this question is, as I said, it's easy if you
Mm.
understand it, but if you don't, then it becomes a bit difficult. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
Let's try with the audio.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Michael from ETS. Today on Inside the TOEFL Test, we're going inside the TOEFL IBT listening section, specifically the attitude questions. Attitude questions ask you to show understanding of the speaker's attitude or their feelings about something. You can recognize attitude questions because they include phrases like, what is the professor's attitude? What does the student think about? And what can be inferred? To identify the speaker's attitude, listen for phrases like, what I think, or "It seems to me," in the lecture or conversation. The attitude question will then refer to how valid the speaker's argument is, or how sure of the facts the speaker is. When you're answering attitude questions, listen for the tone of the speaker's voice. For example, if a conversation has someone accepting an apology, their tone would be gentle and understanding. Now let's look at a sample attitude question from a literature lecture about detective novels, including one titled The Moonstone. First,
Now this is a new audio, okay? Make sure you
Yes.
listen to the excerpt.
Today, I'd like to introduce you to a novel that some critics consider the finest detective novel ever written. It was also the first. We're talking about The Moonstone by Wilkie Collins. Now, there are other detective stories that
Now this is how it will appear on your screen. Now you might not know the actual spelling of moonstone. It's a proper noun that they are talking
Yeah.
about. So it will appear on the screen like this. Okay.
Okay.
So that you can make note of the term and you know that it's a proper noun again. So it's referring to some particular thing and you
Okay.
understand the spelling also and you understand the capitalizations also.
Okay.
preceded The Moonstone historically. Notably, the work of Poe, Edgar Allan Poe's stories, such as The Murders in the Rue Morgue and The Purloined Letter. Now, these were short stories that featured a detective, probably the first to do that. But The Moonstone, which follows them by about 20 years, it was published in 1868, this is the first full-length detective novel ever written. Now, in The Moonstone, if you read it as, come to it as a contemporary reader, what's interesting is that most of the features you find in almost any detective novel are, in fact, already present. It's hard at this juncture to read this novel and realize that no one had ever done that before, because it all seems so strikingly familiar. It's really a wonderful novel, and I recommend it even just as a fun book to read if you've never read it.
Now, here's the attitude question.
What attitude does the professor express when he says this?
It's hard at this juncture to read this novel and realize that no one had ever done that before, because it all seems so strikingly familiar.
Different
Understood how the question
Yes.
will be?
Yes. Yes.
Now try solving this question on the screen.
E.
E.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also wanted to ask you,
Uh-huh.
this audio also can be listened only once, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Only once. It will be automatically played. We do not have any play replay button over there.
Okay.
attitudes are expressed in all of the answer choices. But you can tell that the speaker's attitude toward the book is positive because he states, "It's really a wonderful novel and I recommend it." You can also tell the speaker thinks the book is original because he mentions multiple times that the novel is the first of its kind. For example, when he says, "This is the first full-length detective novel ever written." Therefore, the correct answer is A.
Yeah, you got the answer right.
Yeah, I was a bit confused between first and second option, but then I
Okay.
was like, second, it doesn't mean anything much as compared to the first one.
Exactly.
So
Very
first
good.
was the best fit, so I chose that.
Very good. Correct. Now, next we have connecting information question. Okay. Here we have to connect the information which is being presented in the audio. Usually this becomes important in your lectures, okay, because as I said in the lecture, most of the times if you observe the American style of lecturing. They will go
Hmm.
from say complex ideas to easy ideas, okay, or say from
Hmm.
easy
Hmm. Hmm.
ideas to complex ideas. Then if they are putting
Okay.
forward some steps, they will mention those steps. So that's where you will need to pay attention and understand it in a better way. Okay,
Okay.
that's where we will be asked these kind of questions. So the first one, we have organization questions. They ask you to recognize when a speaker is shifting from say a general idea to the topic specific idea. Okay, they might ask you the question like this: how does the professor organize the information that she presents to the class? Then
Hmm.
sometimes if it's they explain some historical event, then they might just go ahead and put forward in the order in which the events occurred.
Hmm.
Correct, that would be your correct option over here. How does
Yeah.
the professor clarify the points he makes about Mexico? By comparing Mexico to a neighboring country.
Neighboring country.
Okay, so they are asking you the organization, how the information is organized in that particular lecture.
Okay.
Okay,
Got
that's
it.
what they will ask you mainly
Okay.
over here. Now, how is the discussion organized? Why does the professor discuss this? Why does the professor mention something about the particular topic that they are talking about? Okay, how does the professor organize the information? These types of questions would be asked. Okay,
Okay.
now over here, to understand this question type, we need to understand the overall organization about the conversation or the particular lecture that we are referring. Okay, you will refer to your notes that you have made for this particular question. It may not
Hmm.
have been apparent from the start that the professor has organized the information in a particular way. As I
Hmm.
said, it might not be very apparent when we are listening that the
Hmm.
organization is in chronological order or from least to most complex or in some other way. You will
Hmm.
only understand when you refer to your notes, because that's how you will make your notes also, correct?
Okay. Hmm. Yeah.
But as you know this point now, you can try to focus a bit on that part also. Okay.
Okay.
Also, as I said before, whenever they are giving a lot of details, you'll make notes. Whenever they are providing comparisons of any kind, you will try to make note of those
Make one.
comparisons.
Okay.
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 The example which is given in your TOEFL guide here, they talk about steel and steel girders in a new building to make a point. Okay, so professor may mention something that is seemingly off topic in order to explain a concept. Now the way I told you about, we took that example to understand pragmatic understanding,
Yeah.
correct? I gave you the example of me being your sibling and telling you that okay,
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
have an
Hmm.
exam tomorrow. So it was a bit off topic. Again, when
Yeah.
I told you about attitude and the function, I said मम्मी का
Hmm.
example
Hmm.
मैं देती हूँ यहाँ पर
Hmm. Hmm.
usually. So it's a bit off topic, right? We are not talking about TOEFL test over here. So such real life examples could be given by your professors also in these kind of lectures. ठीक है? So of course you will
Okay.
make notes of them. But okay,
Okay.
the professor will mention something familiar to the student as a way of introducing a new idea. Clear?
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So it's the same way our real lectures are. Okay.
Okay. Hmm. Hmm.
Now again, we'll watch a video with the example question.
Excellent.
It might
Okay.
be for the same audio. Let us see.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Michael from ETS. Today on Inside the TOEFL Test, we're going inside the TOEFL IBT listening section, specifically the organization questions. Organization questions ask you to show understanding of how a lecture is structured. You can recognize organization questions because they often include phrases such as, why does the professor mention? Or, why does the professor discuss? These kinds of phrases show that organization questions are often asked about the examples in a lecture. So it helps to listen for examples and think about why the professor is using them. Now let's look at a sample question. The question is from a literature lecture about detective novels, including one titled The Moonstone. The passage focuses on an important character from The Moonstone named Sergeant Cuff, who is trying to solve a crime.
Now see again
Here's an
this word, the spelling would be difficult for us to understand.
Hmm.
Sergeant Cuff, correct? We might
Hmm.
write it as COUGF, cuff. जो हम cuff वाला cuff करते हैं,
Yeah.
golden
Hmm.
cuff
Hmm.
वाला. If
Hmm.
we
Hmm.
just listen to that term, but
Hmm.
it's a
Hmm.
proper noun, so the spelling will be different. So it's given on your
Different.
screen
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
understand the spelling. Okay.
excerpt from the lecture.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Excerpt from the lecture.
So now Cuff arrives. Cuff is the man who's coming to solve the mystery. And again, he has a lot of the characteristics that future detectives throughout the history of this genre will have. He's eccentric. He has a hobby that he's obsessive about. In this case, it's the love of roses. He's a fanatic about the breeding of roses. And here, think of Nero Wolfe and his orchids, Sherlock Holmes and his violin. A lot of those later classic detective heroes have this kind of outside interest that they go to as a kind of antidote to the evil and misery they encounter in their daily lives. Now, these detective heroes, they have this characteristic of being smart, incredibly smart, but of not appearing to be smart. And most importantly, from a kind of existential point of view, these detectives see things that other people do not see. And that's why the detective is such an important figure, I think, in our modern imagination. In the case of the Moonstone, I don't want to say too much here and spoil it for you, but the clue that's key to the solving of the crime is a smeared bit of paint in a doorway. Of course, the regular police have missed this paint smear or made some sort of unwarranted assumption about it. Cuff sees this smear of paint, this paint, the place where the paint is smeared, and realizes that from this one smear of paint, you can actually deduce the whole situation, the whole world. And that's what the hero in a detective novel like this brings to it that the other characters don't. It's this ability to see meaning where others see no meaning, and to bring order to where it seems there is no order.
Here's an example of an organization question. Why does the professor mention a smeared bit of paint in a doorway in the Moonstone?
Try to answer. Are you able to get the answer?
Yes. A.
A?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's look at the answer choices one at a time. Choice A can be ruled out because the professor directly states that noticing
It's wrong. Okay.
Okay.
the smeared paint is the key to solving the crime, not a mistake. For option B to be correct, there would have been a pattern of discussing details from the crime scene, but the smeared paint is the only visual detail from the crime scene that is mentioned.
And
So
D would
option
be
B is
correct.
not correct.
Okay.
Option D can be eliminated because
Oh,
the professor
okay.
states that the police officers didn't notice the smeared paint. Option C is the best answer because the professor talks about hero detectives and mystery novels and the characteristics they have in common. The professor indicates that there is a pattern when he says this.
These detectives see things that other people do not see.
Oh, okay. Huh.
Understood?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Moving to the next question type, it is again similar to what we just did. It is connecting
Okay.
content questions. Okay.
Okay.
Organization, yeah, you will need to practice a bit on that. I'll share some practice material with you. Don't worry. Am I
Okay.
audible?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, you are.
Yes. Next, we have connecting content question. Here, we need to connect pieces of information that is presented to us, or we have to draw a conclusion based on the information that is provided to us. Okay, something that will be
Okay.
explicitly stated most of the times, but sometimes we might have to infer from the whole passage also. Now,
Okay.
this is where you will get the table which I told you. You might be given some information and you might just be given a table and you have to tick mark what all information has been provided.
Okay.
Okay, or they might just give you some kind of classification, some kind of sequence of events, steps in a process,
Mm-hmm.
or say they might ask you to specify some relationship between the objects or some dimensions. Okay, that will be the connecting content information question. Now your question would be something like this: what is the likely outcome of doing the procedure X before doing the procedure Y? What can be inferred? What does the professor imply? These kind of questions will be there. Okay.
Okay.
Another example would be, what type of symmetry do these animals have? And they might give you some asymmetry, radial symmetry, bilateral symmetry. This is given in your TOEFL guide. Okay, now when you're
Okay.
trying to solve this question, you might be required to fill in a chart or a table or to put events in order to fall into this category. As you listen to the lecture accompanying the study guide, like when you go through a TOEFL guide basically, you will need to pay attention to the format of your notes. Okay, you will be able to clearly identify the terms and the definitions as well as the steps in a process if you make notes properly. Okay,
Okay.
yeah, let's look at the let's look at the video again and
Hmm.
try to do the sample question.
Hi, I'm Michael from ETS. Today on Inside the TOEFL Test, we're going inside the TOEFL IBT listening section, specifically the connecting content questions. Connecting content questions ask you to show understanding of the relationships among ideas in a lecture. Connecting content questions may require you to fill in a chart or table, or they may ask things like, what is the likely outcome? This type of question will ask you to put together information from different sentences or different parts of the conversation or lecture. You may be asked to identify things like steps in a process, or cause-effect relationships. Or you may be asked to classify items in categories, or make a prediction. Now let's look at a sample connecting content question. The question is from a conversation between a coach and a student who are catching up on what happened while the student was away. Here's an excerpt from the conversation.
And the next thing is, you know Mary's transferring to another college next week. So we'll need someone to take over her role as captain for the second half of the season. And the other players unanimously picked you to take over as captain when Mary leaves.
Wow. I saw everybody this morning and nobody said a word.
They wanted me to tell you. So, do you accept?
Of course. But Susan's a much better player than I am. I'm really surprised they didn't pick her.
They think you're the right one. You'll have to ask them their thoughts.
Okay. I guess one of the first things I'll have to do as captain is make sure we get a thank you card out to the lady who's buying us the jackets.
Good idea. I have her address here somewhere.
And I'll make sure the whole team signs it.
Good. That's all the news there is. I think that's it for now. Oh, let me get you that order form.
Now let's look at the sample question. Note that for this one, you will choose 2 of the 4 answers.
Okay,
So why is the woman
try to answer.
Okay.
You have to select 2. Click on 2
Okay.
answers. It's written over
Okay.
there. Okay.
Okay. First two.
First 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
surprised? Remember this part of the conversation.
And the other players unanimously picked you to take over as captain when Mary leaves.
Wow. I saw everybody this morning and nobody said a word.
It's clear that everyone refers to the other team members, and no one said a word means that no one on the team said anything about having picked her to be their new captain. So B is one answer. The second answer is explained when the student says this.
But Susan's a much better player than I am. I'm really surprised they didn't pick her.
By saying someone else on the team is a better player, that means that she is not the best player. So A is the other correct answer.
Okay, you got it
Yes.
correctly. Now, the next question type, which is the last question type that we has, is making inference questions. Inference, we already discussed about it in yesterday's session, that making inference means trying to guess the meaning of something which is not explicitly mentioned, okay, which is implicitly mentioned. Correct? That is what we mean by making an inference. So, we have to reach a conclusion based on whatever we read or listen to in this particular lecture, basically. Correct?
So, which would be mentioned indirectly.
Correct. Yeah. So you would be asked the question like, why does the professor imply, sorry, what does the professor imply about say
Hmm.
particular topic? What will the student probably do next? What
Hmm.
can be inferred about X? And sometimes
Hmm.
you might be given a replay of the audio. Also, what does the professor imply when he says this? Okay,
Okay.
so that's how the questions would be. So you have to focus on the language, stress, intonation, and other things to determine the speaker's attitude and degree of certainty to make an inference based on this assessment. Okay, that's what you
Okay.
will need to make sure that you understand. Clear?
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, while trying to solve these questions, in some cases, answering this kind of question will need you to understand the details from the lecture or the conversation to reach the conclusion. Okay, sometimes the
Okay.
professor may directly imply something without directly stating it. Okay,
Okay.
will indirectly imply something
Hmm.
without stating it, basically.
Hmm.
In most cases, the answer you choose will use vocabulary which is not found in the lecture. Okay, that's where you will have to pay attention again.
Okay.
Clear?
Okay.
Yeah, let's watch the video with the sample question.
Hi, I'm Michael from ETS. Today on Inside the TOEFL Test, we're going inside the TOEFL IBT listening section, specifically the inference questions. Inference questions ask the listener to show an understanding of the meaning of something when it is not directly stated in the lecture or conversation. You can recognize inference questions because they use phrases like, what are the implications of? What does the professor imply? Or what can be inferred? Let's look at a sample inference question from a literature lecture about detective novels, including a famous one called The Moonstone. First, here's an excerpt from the lecture.
In The Moonstone, as I said, Collins did much to establish the conventions of the detective genre. I'm not going to go into the plot at length, but, the basic setup is there's this diamond of great value, a country house. The diamond mysteriously disappears in the middle of the night. The local police are brought in an attempt to solve the crime, and they mess it up completely. And then the true hero of the book arrives. That's Sergeant Cuff. Now, Cuff, this extraordinarily important character, let me try to give you a sense of who Sergeant Cuff is by first describing the regular police. And this is the dynamic that you're going to see throughout the history of the detective novel, where you have the regular cops who are well-meaning but officious and bumblingly inept. And they are countered by a figure who's eccentric, analytical, brilliant, and able to solve the crime. So first, the regular police get called in to solve the mystery. In this case, Detective Superintendent Seagrave. When Superintendent Seagrave comes in, he orders his minions around. They bumble and they actually make a mess of the investigation, which you'll see repeated. You'll see this pattern repeated, particularly in the Sherlock Holmes stories of a few years later, where Inspector Lestrade, this well-meaning idiot, is always countered by Sherlock Holmes, who's a genius.
Now let's look at the question.
What does the professor imply when he says this?
Well, let me try to give you a sense of who Sergeant Cuff is by first describing the regular police.
We can see that this is an inference question because it uses the word imply and asks the listener to understand the meaning.
Okay, tell me the answer here.
Hmm. A,
Sorry?
A.
A. Okay.
Meaning of
Yes.
something that is not directly stated by the professor. When the professor says this,
Well, let me try to give you a sense of who Sergeant Cuff is by first describing the regular police.
he is hinting that there is a difference between the behavior of the regular police and that of Sergeant Cuff. This contrast is supported in other parts of the passage. For example, the speaker describes the regular police as bumblingly inept. He also says it is common in detective novels for them to be countered by a specific character, in this case, Sergeant Cuff, who is brilliant. Taken together, we can see that the best answer is A. Sergeant Cuff is unlike the regular police in the Moonstone.
Yeah, your answer was
Yes.
correct. Very good. Let's move to the next part. Okay, we are done with listening question types.
Yes.
Let us take a quick 5 minutes break, and then we'll move to
Yeah.
writing and speaking. We'll finish that quickly. Okay, don't worry.
Okay.
Yeah, we have already gone through most of it. I just need
Yes.
to tell you the tips and tricks for it mainly. Okay, so let us take a quick
Yes.
break, and then we'll move ahead.
Yes. Sure. Sure.
Tell me once you're back, okay?
Sorry.
Tell me once you're back, I said. Are you
Yeah,
back?
I am back. I am back.
Okay, okay. Just 1 second and we'll start.
Yeah.
Okay, moving to the next part that we have,
Yes.
that is speaking tasks, correct? Now we know that we
Okay.
have four speaking tasks, correct? Now the first task will be an independent task where they ask you to make a choice about a topic familiar to you. It asks you to draw upon your ideas, opinions, and expresses experiences to support your response. Okay,
Okay.
so basically, over here, you will be asked about a choice. It consists of a single question that asks the test taker to make and defend a personal choice between two contrasting behaviors or courses of action. It will assess the test taker's ability
Okay.
to express a personal preference from a given pair and elaborate on that preference and support it with reasons.
Okay.
Now, before we go to the question types, let us first discuss the what are the main things that we need to make sure about. Okay, but to understand better,
Mm-hmm.
here we have a paired choice task, which is an independent speaking question that asks about your familiar topic and they give you two contrasting options. Then we have next three question types, which are integrated tasks, where you must
Mm.
use more than one skill when responding, that is your listening and reading skill as well, and you will be asked the question to give in response to that, correct?
Okay.
The tasks basically ask you to require sorry want you to require to listen to and read and then speak in response to these questions. You can take notes when you are when you are listening to the audio, and then you
Okay.
can use
Okay.
these notes to respond also. But of course
Okay.
you have very less time, so you cannot write down your answers. You can just refer to them as your notes while you are speaking. Okay,
Okay.
now over here we know that your responses will be recorded. They will be delivered via the internet, and your responses will be recorded in the microphone in your ETS site directly,
Okay.
and it will be sent to ETS where they are scored by certified raters and the automated scoring system also, which is called AI. So your
Okay.
response is most of the times recorded by rated by
Yeah.
three people, three humans,
Okay.
and one AI. Okay,
Okay. Okay.
and say if you your rater gives you a scoring of say 4, 3, 3, and 3. So say one of the rater has given you 4 and the others three raters have given you 3. Your speaking task is of 4 points. Each
Hmm.
speaking task is of 4 points. We discussed that yesterday, right?
Okay.
So say your
Hmm.
AI has given you 3, the other two
Hmm.
humans have given 3, but one of the rater
Hmm.
has given you 4. So you will get the score of 4, whichever was the highest. Same goes for
Okay.
your writing also. Okay,
Okay.
you will get scored by 4 people or
Hmm.
3 people to be precise, and one AI, whichever is the
And
highest score.
from that. Hmm.
Usually there is not a much difference, 3 और 4 का या फिर 4 and 5 का difference होगा. 3 and 5
Okay.
ऐसा difference नहीं होता है. Okay, so don't worry
Okay.
about
Okay.
that part between
Hmm.
the raters. So that's how precise it is.
Okay.
So
So
usually you will
whichever
get the
will be the highest,
highest,
that
correct.
score
So
will
even
be.
if say two raters give you 4 and two raters give you 3, 4 will be considered. Okay,
Okay.
3 will not be considered. So whichever is the highest, that will be considered. And we
Okay.
already know that there are 4 tasks, and it will be the whole test of speaking will be 16 minutes long.
16 minutes. Hmm.
Okay, the response time will be somewhere between 45 seconds and 60 seconds, and you get around 15 seconds to 30 seconds to prepare on it. It totally
Okay.
depends from question to question. We'll look at each question, which will give you an idea of how to work on it. Okay, now in your speaking test, basically we know that why we need to prove our speaking skills is basically we'll need it in classroom setting also, because
Yeah.
when we are in a classroom you need to converse with your professor, you need to participate in your academic discussions, you need to respond to the questions which are asked by your professor, you need to
Hmm.
synthesize and summarize the information that is presented to you in the textbooks and heard in the class. correct? That is
Okay.
where you need the speaking skills mainly, correct? Now along with that, outside the classroom also you need to participate in casual discussions with your uh, peers around you, correct?
Mm.
You need to ask questions to your uh, people in on the campus itself, correct? And you need to express your opinion in the classroom also, and
Mm.
with your professors also. That is where your speaking skills come into the picture, okay?
Okay.
And they become important. Now moving to the next part. First question type that we have is the paired choice, which we were talking about, correct? Now before we move to this question type, we need to understand what are the things that we need to make sure while giving our response, okay? Now as I told you, this will be rated by AI plus humans, correct?
Okay.
Human judgment is also there, plus a speech rater, which is a which is an automated scoring engine that also helps out ETS over here. But what are the rubrics that we need to make sure about? The first thing is topic development, which I told you yesterday. Topic development is where the test taker, whether the test taker is able to completely answer the question or not, that comes into the picture. Whether the test taker, that is you, are able to
Mm.
present your ideas coherently or not,
Mm.
whether the ideas are presented, whether the relationships are expressed
Mm.
between the ideas in a way that is clear and easy to follow or not. All these points
Okay.
come into this point, that is topic development. Okay, this rubric, this particular rubric called topic development. Okay, first thing you need to make sure that your answer is complete. Then
Mm.
you need to make sure that your ideas are presented in coherent manner.
Mm.
Okay, and when you present your ideas and relationships, whether you're able to present ideas and relationships between ideas and relationships in a way that is clear
Okay.
and easy to follow. Okay,
Okay.
so एक idea आप proper way में उसको present कर रहे हो कि नहीं, that is also considered. Okay, then your
Okay.
delivery of the response, the way you speak,
Mm.
that comes into the picture. Whether your speech is clear, whether the pronunciation is good, whether your pacing is good, and your intonations, which I told you about yesterday, are good or not, whether they sound natural or not, and whether your
Okay.
response is easy to understand or not. Okay,
Okay.
then comes the language part. Your language should be basic, but they are not asking you to use very high level of vocabulary, but it's good to use mid level of vocabulary.
Okay.
Okay, 1 minute. So as I said, it's good to use good level of vocabulary. So instead of
Okay.
saying the word easy, you can use the word efficient.
Efficient. Okay.
Okay, so mid level of vocabulary also works. एकदम बेसिक जाने की जरूरत नहीं है, but even if
Okay.
you use basic vocabulary, you won't be marked down because of it.
Okay.
Okay, so that's one thing. Along with that, your grammar should be good, but minor grammatical errors, minor misspeaks, minor false starters are allowed. Okay, so as I said, the occasional errors and minor lapses in any of these areas are okay as far as your overall response is good. Okay,
Okay.
that's what we need to keep in mind. Clear?
Okay.
Moving to the next part over here. As I said, first task that we have is a paired choice task, which will consist of a single question that will ask you to make and defend a personal choice between two contrasting behaviors or course of actions. Okay, now the way your question will be presented, that is the way you will present your answer also. That is what you need to keep in mind. For
Mhm.
example, one question that could come for you is, some students study for classes individually, others
Mhm.
study in groups. Which method of
Mhm.
studying do you think is better for students and why? तो यूजुअली तुम्हारा IELTS का ऐसे का टॉपिक आता है ना, थोड़ा सा वैसा होता है.
Mhm.
ठीक है.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
which method of studying do you think is better for students and why?
Okay.
So now it is
So,
asking for students
yeah.
generally. So you will
Okay. So
talk about,
here, do I have to give about my opinion or
yeah, your
general
opinion.
opinion?
No,
Okay.
your opinion.
Okay.
Okay, because this is the
So
first
this
question.
question is about my opinion.
Yes, this question is
Okay.
about your opinion, and only here in speaking you will give your opinion. Nowhere else you will give
Okay.
your opinion.
Okay.
Okay. So they might also ask you question about you. Do you prefer studying in a cafe? जो मैंने कल example दिया था. Do you think it is better for students to study for classes individually, or you,
Mm-hmm.
the question that I gave you just now? Or they might
Okay.
ask you, the other question is, what do you think is better, studying in a cafe, studying in groups, or studying individually? Something like
Okay.
this. Okay.
Okay, cool.
Hmm. Whether it is better for students to study alone, you might say that when students meet to study in groups, they often waste time discussing matters that have nothing to do with the classwork.
Mm-hmm.
You might continue on this explanation, or you can give your personal example also over here.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, if you should be clear, here you should be clear about your stance, and you should give
Okay.
relevant example. Or if you take the opposite position, that it is better for students to study in groups, in this case you would explain the advantages of studying in group or disadvantages of studying alone then. Okay, and then
Okay.
you can give your personal examples also. Clear? Here it is, what is assessed is whether you are
Mm-hmm.
able to give your answers in a proper grammatical and
Okay.
lexical way
Okay. Mm-hmm.
when discussing a subject which does not require any kind of knowledge from academic content.
Okay.
Okay, you can elaborate on one particular stance. As I said yesterday, you will take up one stance and you will elaborate on
Mm-hmm.
that. You will not try to cater
Okay.
to all the points over here.
Okay.
Okay, so if you feel that okay, studying in a group is better, you will just elaborate about that. You will not give any
Okay.
advantages and disadvantages about studying for classes individually. Okay,
Okay.
if you feel studying for classes individually is better, then you will just focus on that stance. You will not touch
Mm-hmm.
upon the other point. Main thing is
Okay.
you need to speak. Okay, speak
Okay.
relevant information, but speak.
Okay.
Yeah, here you'll be given 15 seconds to prepare, and you have to speak for 45 seconds. As I said,
Okay.
the recording will start automatically. You have to start speaking as soon as the beep goes on over here. Okay,
Okay.
next over here we'll watch a video quickly to see how our system also looks. Okay,
Uh, Give me a minute. I'll be back.
sure, sure.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you back?
Yes.
Okay. Let's watch the video and look at the
Okay.
example question also for that.
Hi,
Okay.
I'm Michael from ETS, and welcome to Inside the TOEFL Test. Today, we're going to go inside the speaking section of the TOEFL test, specifically question 1, the independent speaking question. So in the next few minutes, we're going to look at how the question is structured, how to approach the question, how your response is scored. We'll look at a sample response that received a high score, and we'll give you some tips for improving your speaking skills. So here's generally what question 1 will look like. For this task, you'll be given a topic to speak about with no additional reading or listening passages. You will have 15 seconds to prepare your response and 45 seconds to speak your answer. Now, 15 seconds is actually longer than you think, and if you feel like you need more time, just remember that professors at university aren't going to give you more time than that to answer questions in class. Now let's look more closely at what the independent speaking questions will be asking you to do. In question 1, you'll be presented with 2 situations or opinions. You will be asked which you prefer, and you need to explain your choice. Here's an example.
Some people think it is more fun to spend time with friends in restaurants or cafes. Others think it is more fun to spend time with friends at home. Which do you think is better? Explain why.
Now here are some tips for how to approach these kinds of speaking questions. Number 1, use the preparation time to organize your thoughts and maybe jot down some notes. Don't try to write a full response because you won't have time, and the raters scoring your response want to hear you speaking, not reading, and they can tell the difference. Number 2, don't memorize responses before the test, especially ones that you get from the internet or from test prep instructors who say that's a good idea. It's not, and it will lower your score. It's very easy for ETS raters to identify memorized responses because they sound different, and the content is different from responses that are more natural and spontaneous. Number 3, it's not necessary to organize your response into an introduction, a middle, and a conclusion like you would with a written essay. Just speak naturally and use common connecting words. Some of those are because, so, after that, on the other hand, I want to mention, and what this means is. Before the test, make sure you understand what the raters are looking for and how the questions are scored. In the speaking section, all responses are scored on a scale from 0 to 4, and they're scored holistically, which means that the raters listen for various features in your response and then give it an overall score. Although there are some variations depending on the question, raters will be looking for 3 main things. First, delivery. Your speech needs to be clear and fluid, with good pronunciation. The pace or speed of your speech should be natural, and you should have good sounding intonation patterns.
Tell me if you have any confusion in these 4.
No.
No, right? Okay.
Yes.
Second, language use. This is mainly how you use grammar and vocabulary to express your ideas. And third, topic development. This is mainly how fully you answer the question, how clearly you express your ideas, and how you can connect one idea to the next in a way that is easy to follow. Now let's listen to an example of a speaking response that received the highest score of 4 out of 4. This is responding to the question about.
Listen to this properly so you'll
Yes, yes.
understand how, I wouldn't say lenient, but how easy it is to score over here.
Okay, okay.
Spending time with friends.
I actually only spend time with my friends in restaurants and cafes, almost never at home because my apartment is very small and there is just almost nothing to do. On the outside and in cafes and restaurants, it's much more, there are more people, the atmosphere is usually good, and maybe there's some music playing, or we usually meet to discuss things and meet other people and meet people we do not know, possibly. There's always a chance to get to know someone, and it's always exciting. For me, it is much more exciting than just staying at home and in the environment that I know and I'm familiar with. I think that's boring.
Now let's look at this response in terms of our three main criteria.
See, it was not even organized. It was not even. It did not use many examples or so,
Will
but still.
there be a timer in front of me of
Yes.
like the 45 seconds tick?
Yes. Yes. There
Okay.
will be a timer on the screen. Okay.
Okay.
Delivery, language use, and topic development. First, delivery. His flow of speech is good, and he's easy to understand. And he's able to sustain his speech for the full 45 seconds without repeating himself.
My apartment is very small and there is just almost nothing to do.
With language use, his language is simple and direct, and he chooses his words accurately. He doesn't need to use overly complex vocabulary.
There are more people, the atmosphere is usually good, and maybe there's some music playing or...
Topic development is also strong. He starts by stating his preference for cafes and also says why he doesn't meet his friends at his home, because his apartment is too small and there's almost nothing to do there. And he gives several reasons why cafes are better for him. There's a better atmosphere, often there is music, and he can meet new people.
There's always a chance to get to know someone, and it's always exciting.
So overall, this meets the criteria for a score of 4 out of 4. For more details about how the independent
Clear?
Yeah, got it.
Okay. Very good.
speaking
Moving to the next part.
Okay.
Any questions over here with the first speaking task?
No.
Okay. Moving to the next part that we have, that is fit and explain, which is a campus situation, which I told you yesterday. That you will get two sources and a single question over here. There will be a reading passage, which is a campus related issue. It will usually be a university notification. It will consist of, say, tentatively 100 words, approximately 100 words. Okay.
Okay.
And then there will be a listening passage in which speakers will express their opinion about the reading. Okay. A question that asks the test takers to summarize the speaker's opinion within the context of the reading passage. And as I told you, the one of the speaker over here will have a strong opinion about that
Okay.
particular university notification. Okay, you will
Okay.
be asked to summarize the opinion of the one of the speakers within the context of the reading passage. So that student who has the strong opinion, उसके बारे में ही usually पूछा जाएगा. Okay, now it assesses your ability to combine and analyze the information from the written and spoken sources and assess the test takers. It assesses your ability to synthesize or integrate the information from both the written and spoken sources in a meaningful and coherent response. Okay, you get a
Okay.
preparation time of 30 seconds over here to organize your thoughts and organize your notes, and then you have 60 seconds to speak on it.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
let's quickly watch a video for the same. Do you have any
Okay.
questions about this particular task? You're basically
No.
you read, you listen to an audio, and usually the student who has the strong opinion, you get a question for that student. They will
Okay.
ask you why she has that opinion. They will ask you what are her opinions and what examples she gives. So that's how you're supposed
Okay.
to make notes. You will make notes from the reading passage also, because the reading passage will not come on the screen again. Okay, so you
Okay.
need a gist about what it was talking about. If it talks about fees increase, change in infrastructure, some new rule that they are coming up with, so you will need to
Okay.
pay attention to that and make quick note of it also. Okay,
I can make notes when the conversation is going on, right?
yes,
Okay.
you can.
Hi, I'm Michael from ETS, and welcome to Inside the TOEFL Test. Today, we're going to go inside the speaking section of the TOEFL test, specifically question 2, the integrated speaking questions about campus situations. So in the next few minutes, we're going to look at how the question is structured, how to approach the question, how your response is scored. We'll look at a sample response that received a high score, and we'll give you some tips for improving your speaking skills. So here's generally what question 2 will look like. You will read a passage about a campus-related topic. Then you will listen to a conversation about that topic. Then you will have 30 seconds to prepare your response and 60 seconds to speak your answer. Now let's look more closely at what campus situations questions look like and what they will be asking you to do. For question 2, where you have both reading and listening passages, you will be asked what the opinion is.
Okay, So this will be kind of the reading passage that you will get.
Okay.
Okay, which is kind of a
Okay.
notification.
Is of a speaker in the listening passage. And you'll need to explain how that person's opinion relates to the issues presented in the reading passage. So you're essentially summarizing and combining information from two sources. Here's an example of this type of question.
That's true, but think about it. Have you ever seen the space completely full?
Well, no, I guess not.
Me either. There are never any events when the entire student body is there. In fact, there are usually just a small number of students in the audience for a play or a concert.
That's true.
So why make it bigger if it works as is?
I see what you mean.
The man expresses his opinion of the university's plan. State his opinion and explain the reasons he gives for holding that opinion.
See, this is how the question will appear.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
So, and most of the times this has been observed by us. As I said, the one student will have strong opinion, one student will be okay or just agree with whatever he is saying.
Okay.
One more thing which has been observed most of the times is that there will be a female student and a male student in most of the audios. Okay, so that
Okay.
you can distinguish between who is talking.
Yeah, right.
And this is not only for this task, it goes for all the
All the
conversations,
okay.
all the audios that you will come across,
Mm-hmm.
which include two speakers. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that is again, it should help you to distinguish. But
Mm-hmm.
usually if they say the name, make sure you make note of that name also, so it becomes easier for you. नहीं तो ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि क्लेयर कौन थी.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. So that is also easier.
Okay. Okay.
Now here are some tips for how to approach these kinds of speaking questions. Number one, be careful not to speak too quickly, because this might make it difficult for the rater to understand you. The questions are designed so that if you speak at a normal pace, you will have enough time to give a complete response. And you'll get better at this if you time yourself when you practice. Number two, in question 2, where you have the reading passage, then the conversation between two speakers, listen carefully to the speaker's reasons for agreeing or disagreeing with points made in the reading. Then make sure you summarize the opinion of the speaker in your answer. Before the test, make sure you understand what the raters are looking for and how the questions are scored. In the speaking section, all responses are scored on a scale from 0 to 4, and they're scored holistically, which means that the raters listen for various features in your response and then give it an overall score. Although there are some variations depending on the question, raters will be looking for 3 main things. First, delivery. Your speech needs to be clear and fluid, with good pronunciation.
This is similar.
The
to
pace or
previous one.
Okay.
Move ahead, yeah.
Okay.
This is your sample response.
Okay.
Now let's listen to an example of a speaking response that received a score of 3 on a 4-point scale.
The school has decided to build a new auditorium, and because it will have a clean, modern appearance, and it will be bigger to accommodate a larger student body. However, the man does not agree with this announcement for the following 2 reasons. First, the new auditorium is not a nice historic building as before, because the old building is an important part in the university's history, because it is among the first buildings built in the school. Second, the students actually haven't even seen the space is full. There is usually a small number of students in the old auditorium, so actually there is no need for the school to make it bigger. Also, making such decision allows the school to spend a lot of money, and it is not very good for the school. So I think this is not a good proposal.
Now let's look at this response and
Okay, she got 3 out of 4 over here because of course there were some mistakes. She repeated some words and she corrected herself because of
Okay.
that. But if you organize those thoughts properly, 4 out of 4 is easy.
Okay.
But the way
Okay.
she explained, it was good. Correct? She put forward all the information that the speaker had.
Yeah.
So that's how your
Mhm.
answer should be. Okay, your response should be.
Okay.
Now, next task
Okay.
that we have is again, the way we have our integrated tasks, that is where you get a reading passage, which is kind of an academic passage, okay, which will kind of explain a term, a process, or an idea about the
Mm-hmm.
academic subject. Then you will get an excerpt of a lecture, which will be hardly 60 to 90 seconds. It will give you examples, specific information about the reading passage, but it will
Mm-hmm.
elaborate more. Most of the times, as I said, as I have told you, it will be kind of opposing to whatever you read. Okay, so that's where we should be able to synthesize the information. We should be able to express the academic information from both written and the spoken source, and we
Okay.
should be able to put forward those contradicting ideas also.
Okay. So
Okay,
the passage would be, if the passage would be about, uh,
the way we talked about Darwin's evolution theory yesterday, the passage talks
okay,
about
huh.
the theory, how what it
Hmm.
explains and what are the things that Darwin came across.
Hmm.
Okay, then the passage will go ahead. Sorry, the audio listening passage will go ahead and say where are the proofs, where are the
Okay.
examples, where are the fossils, if you are saying
If the
so.
passage is telling advantages about it, the
Hmm.
audio will be opposing it,
Disadvantages, yeah.
disadvantages.
Hmm.
Okay, good.
Okay, if again the passage puts forward the problems, then the audio will give the solutions. वैसे भी
Okay.
हो सकता है. Okay,
This is somehow like the second type.
yeah, the writing task
Okay.
type again.
Okay.
Okay, that's how it is. Now again, if they are giving a lot of examples, if they are elaborating on
Mhm.
any point, you will make note of that point. Okay,
Okay.
the question number 4 is similar again, the summary academic course or topic over here that you have, but over here we need to make sure one thing that is different is you don't get a reading passage over here, you only get an audio.
Audio. Okay.
Okay, you only have the lecture, which will be kind of 2 minutes long. It either explains a term or a concept, and
Hmm.
it provides examples to illustrate that term or concept. So your task over here should be to note down that topic, note down the definition, and note down the examples which they are using. Okay, so you will need to go a bit in depth in this particular audio.
Okay.
Okay, you will need to gauge it properly. You will need to understand the relationship between the overall topic and the examples also. Okay,
Okay.
this is a
Okay.
bit difficult, that's why I'm elaborating more on it. But
Okay.
again, the way you synthesize the information and put forward is important. For the task number 3 and task number 4, it's important that you note down all the points which are mentioned to score better along with your topic development, along with your delivery, along with your language use.
Okay.
Okay, that's what you need to make sure. Now,
Okay. Yes.
let's watch the video to understand the question in a better way.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Michael from. So here is generally what the questions will look like and how they're structured. In question 3, you will read a passage about an academic subject. Then you will listen to part of a lecture on that same subject.
This is for question 3 and 4 both, okay?
Okay. Okay.
You'll have 30 seconds to prepare your response and 60 seconds to speak your answer. In question 4, you listen to part of a lecture, then you will have 20 seconds to prepare your response and 60 seconds to speak your answer, which will always be a summary of the lecture. Now let's look more closely at what these academic courses questions look like and what they will be asking you to do. For question 3, the reading passage will always be about an important academic term or concept that might be found in a first-year college textbook. For example, a science reading might explain what a keystone species is. A reading from psychology might describe what is meant by emotional intelligence. In this example, the passage is about flow.
The passages here in speaking would be little shorter.
Okay.
Okay.
The listening passage will be from part of a lecture about the same topic as the reading passage.
I think this will help you get a picture of what your textbook is describing.
In the lecture, you will hear details about an example of the term or concept.
I remember passing by a classroom early one morning just as he was leaving, and he looked terrible. His clothes were all rumpled, and he looked like he hadn't slept all night. And I asked if he was okay. I was surprised when he said that he never felt better, that he was totally happy. He had spent the entire night in the classroom working on a mathematics puzzle. He didn't stop to eat dinner. He didn't stop to sleep. So he worked furiously all night and covered the blackboards in the classroom with equations and numbers and never realized that time was passing by.
Then, when you answer the question, you will speak about how the example supports or illustrates the term.
Now over here, the examples which are given are very easy. In the test,
Okay.
it's not so easy. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Or concept, like in this question about flow.
Explain flow and how the example used by the professor illustrates the concept.
For question 4, the listening passage is an excerpt from an academic lecture on a single topic. Usually it starts with the professor either defining a concept or highlighting an issue.
Human beings aren't the only animals that use tools. It's generally
Then it will have examples that help explain or clarify the issue.
And in fact, there are two competing definitions. A narrow definition.
The question will ask you to explain the main concept or issue using the points and examples that were given in the lecture. So basically, it's a very straightforward summary. Here's the example of question 4 about tools.
Using points and examples from the talk, describe the two different definitions of tools given by the professor.
Okay. Clear?
Yes.
Any questions, any doubts? For sample, just go through the video on your own.
Yes.
You will get the videos in the
YouTube.
planner. No, on YouTube also, but in the planner you will be able to access it easily. I'll share the planner with you. Okay. The
Okay.
links are given over there. On the YouTube channel, it's not put into a playlist, so that's why
Okay.
you will not be able to find it easily. You'll have to scroll down a bit.
Okay, no problem.
Okay. Any questions, any doubts? In the TOEFL guide, on your page number 184 to 187, you will find the rubrics. Your task is to go through those rubrics as well. Okay.
Okay.
The actual rubrics of what they are looking for. So if you get a score of 3, why you got a score of 3? If you got a score of 4, how
Okay.
do you get the score of 4? When do you score 0? When do you score 1? When do you score 2? Okay, usually you should
Okay.
look at 3 and 4 for speaking, because we need to score 3 or 4 in speaking. Okay.
Okay.
1 and 2,
It's
dekho,
in the
but
guide that you have sent.
yes, yes, it's in the guide. You should look at the score of 3 and 4, sorry, 1 and 2, but we don't
To
want to achieve that score. So that's where we understand what should not be done.
not be done. Yeah, right.
Exactly. Okay. You will get a score of 0 only when you don't give
Speak.
any, only when you don't speak. Okay, mainly, or you speak in your mother tongue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lot.
Okay, otherwise score of 0 is very rare, but you either get a score of 1 or 2 if your communication is limited or your communication skills are weak. You get a score of 3 or 4 when your communication is satisfactory, then you'll get 3, or if your communication level is good or effective, we can say, then you'll easily get a 4 over here. Okay. Also, you need to make sure
Okay.
that the points which were mentioned in the audio are covered properly. Okay. That is also very important. Reading and audio.
Okay.
Okay. That's where you get a score of 4.
Okay.
If you miss out on any point, then you might get stuck in 3.
Got it.
Okay. Even if your language is good. But
Okay.
again, if you mention everything, you might get a 3 again if your language is not good. So
Okay.
everything needs to be top notch. That's what we are trying to say over here. Clear? Any question?
Okay.
Okay. Shall we stop
okay.
over here? We'll go through reading if you have time in the evening, or maybe tomorrow then. Sorry, writing. Yeah.
Writing. I'll evening till like, can you tell me timing?
We'll need to meet only
What
for
time?
half an hour. So maybe whenever you get free, just message. If I'm free, we'll meet for a session.
Okay. If
Otherwise,
not, we'll do it tomorrow.
yeah, we'll do it tomorrow. Okay.
Okay.
But you will give a mock test today, which is there
Yeah,
on
yeah.
your ETS site.
Tonight.
You will give that
Okay.
full mock test, and you will need to share the actual scores with me. Okay, when I say the actual
Yeah,
scores,
yeah.
ऊपर के scores मत share करना, थोड़े अंदर के question number के हिसाब से scores share करना, because वो ऊपर से ना, it just gives you a range. Okay, it does not give you actual scores. So I need to see the actual scores.
Do they give that
Yeah.
actual
Yeah.
scores as
Yeah.
well? Okay,
It's
then
a bit inside. So you will need to click on that and then share a screenshot of that with me. okay, or a picture of that with me. For example, speaking
Do
task,
they
yes,
give scores in writing?
yes, they
Okay.
do. But if you face any issue with that, try to log in through इनकॉग्निटो मोड. अगर स्पीकिंग का या फिर राइटिंग का स्कोर नहीं दिखा रहा है, इनकॉग्निटो मोड में लॉग इन करो. ठीक है.
Okay. Good.
And just try to record the response again. You might have to record
All
it again
right.
if shows you an issue. So that is something. But you will need to share the score with me for each task. Understand that. Okay. For
Okay.
example, if you just look at the speaking module, it will show you a range
Mm-hmm.
of say 17 to 20 score. But when you click on it, when it shows you the each task ka score, then it will show you that okay, you got
Mm-hmm.
2
Got
out
it.
of 4, you got 3 out of 4.
Got
So
it.
that
Got
is
it.
what we need. Another thing that you need to make sure while going through your writing and
Mm-hmm.
speaking, I am sharing a format with you. Try to follow that format. So before
For
you start
writing.
your
Okay.
mock test, both for your writing and your speaking, for
Okay.
both you will follow that format. You will try to follow those words. Okay, you'll try to follow those transition words and phrases that we have.
Okay.
जैसे उन्होंने
Okay.
वीडियो में बताया, in addition, because, so, to add,
Mm-hmm.
on the other hand, in addition, all
Okay.
these words become important for us, so make sure you use those words. And same way in writing also, you have a format for the writing task too. If
Hmm.
assume nahi mile and you give the mock test for the writing task too, just make sure that you don't write it in paragraphs. Okay, writing task 2 कौन सा है? वेट, writing task 2 academic discussion task, जहाँ पर प्रोफेसर ने ओपिनियन दिया हुआ है, 2 स्टूडेंट्स ने उस पर,
100 words, na?
हाँ, 100 वर्ड्स वाला. ठीक
It
है,
should be only in
वन
one paragraph.
पैराग्राफ. ठीक है, द वे योर peers have written, वैसे ही तुम्हारा भी होना चाहिए. You have to give your opinions first,
Okay.
then you will agree or disagree with your classmates opinions. ठीक है, first you should strongly put forward your opinion. ठीक है,
Okay.
catering to the question. There should not be any spelling errors, there should be no grammatical errors, no typos. ठीक है, that is
Okay.
for your task number.
You also share the speaking videos with me. I'll go through that as well.
Yes, and along with that,
Okay.
same way you will follow a format for speaking also. Same way you will follow the
Okay.
format for your integrated task also. For your integrated task in writing, you will make
Hmm.
sure you put it in paragraphs. The way I told you, first point one paragraph, first point from reading, first point in from listening. ठीक है, उसका ही
Okay.
contrasting information रहेगा, right? So you'll put it in one
Okay.
paragraph. Then when you move to
Okay.
second point, second paragraph. When you move to third point, third paragraph. And along with that, your introduction paragraph and your conclusion
And
paragraph.
conclusion paragraph.
ठीक
Okay,
है?
no problem. Yeah.
Again, you'll take care that you'll make sure that you mention all the points to get the score
Yes.
5 out of 5. Okay, so basically 6
Okay.
points होने चाहिए, 3 from reading, 3 from the audio. ठीक है?
Okay.
And you put forward according to the points. ठीक है?
Okay.
And then no spelling errors, no typo errors, no grammatical errors. You'll proofread.
Okay.
Okay, and
Okay.
you will
Yes.
try to
Yes.
write more. You will not try to write less. That is also
Okay.
one more thing that you will
Okay.
make sure.
What is the minimum like word count for that?
वर्ड काउंट वहाँ पर स्क्रीन पे दिखता है आपको. फॉर द इंटीग्रेटेड टास्क, द वर्ड काउंट दैट दे एक्सपेक्ट यू टू राइट इज 150 to 225, but you can go to 250 300 also.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
again on
Okay.
your test ready, वहाँ पर टाइमर नहीं है. You will need to set your timer.
On the ETS website, they don't have timer.
No. For
Okay.
this
Okay.
mock test, they don't have a timer. Okay, for the
Okay.
actual test, you will have a timer. Don't worry.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
But for this mock test, you have not put a timer, so you will need to put your own timer.
Okay. No
and
problem.
follow that timing. Don't exceed.
Okay.
ठीक है?
Okay.
And
Yes.
for speaking also, follow a format. ठीक है?
Okay.
Make sure you speak properly. Don't take many pauses. Don't take false stops. Take proper pauses. Okay,
Oh.
maintain a flow.
Okay.
Okay, and don't
Okay.
speak the whole thing in one sentence.
Yes.
Try to break down your sentences using
Break.
in
Okay.
addition, however,
Oh,
on the other hand, ये सारे words use करो थोड़े. ठीक है?
all right.
Clear?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, great then. I'll see you later. Have a great day
Yes.
ahead.
Yeah. Same to you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.
And take care of your health.